Alright, sick. Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. I'm a clown. Um, Today I'm going to be talking about how to make a web CTF because I didn't know how to make a web CTF when I made my first one, and I had to learn. So, first off, usually start out with brainstorming, unless if you're told to make a specific CTF using a specific exploit. Usually, what I look at is the OS top 10. Portswigger is also good. I usually use that for research, though, more than ideas. Other CTFs that you've done in the past can also be used for ideas. YouTube, I really like Pwn Function. It's got some sick videos on CTFs. AT knows. Payload All the Things is also useful. That shows you a bunch of exploits that you can just like scroll through a list of things that you can do. Actrix is also good. I have not personally used it though. After you've chosen your exploit, whether it's like XSS or SSTI or SQLI or whatever you want to do, then you need to figure out how to actually implement it. And if you don't know what it is, like what is SSTI? Turns out that's server-side template injection. You gotta figure out what all of that stuff means. So you can do that through either reading stuff or completing a CTF that will actually test your skills and make it a lot easier to see if your website is working in the future. Because then you know how to solve it. Because CTF has a couple of actually a number of beginner CTFs that you can go through and solve. And a lot of them have write-ups that you can look at if you get stuck. There's also Portswigger Academy. I have not used that. You could also look at a YouTube CTF walkthrough. For my Python pickling challenge, I looked at a Pwn Function video, and that's where I got the idea for that. John Hammond is also another really popular CTF YouTuber that does a lot of CTF walkthroughs that you can learn stuff from. Alright, after you have chosen your exploit and you know what you are doing for the most part, then you gotta actually make the website. So first, you gotta choose a framework. Two really popular ones are Flask and Node. I like Flask because I like Python and I don't like JavaScript. But I will say, I did use Node.js for my last CTF. And it was actually pretty simple, pretty easy. You could also use like vanilla, like HTML and CSS if you want. But if you're doing server-side template injection, you need templates. So you can't do vanilla HTML for that. After you've chosen a framework, then you should probably get familiar with it if you don't know it already. I like to build a proof of concept, like a simple website that just says hello world or whatever. So that way I know how the code works for the website before I start trying to break it. Documentation is absolutely wonderful. Flask has really good documentation. They have a silly little getting started guide that walks you through making your own website. Express also has this. If you're looking at just like generic HTML or CSS or JavaScript, W3 Schools is really good. That's what I use if I don't remember how to get a cookie in JavaScript. So yeah, basically just start with the injection endpoint and build it up from there. Usually this is like a form. Sometimes it's like a cookie. Yeah. After you've tested the simple application and you know that the actual CTF part of it works, like, oh yes, I can use XSS on this form, and it works, and I got the flag. Then you can like flesh it out a little bit and make it look less boring. So you can add like pictures, you can add like a home page, some navigation, You can have users log in, stuff like that. And then here comes the decoration, which is usually people's least favorite part because it involves CSS. I have never used Tailwind or Bootstrap because that seems like a lot of effort. I just use vanilla CSS. So those are CSS framework options that you can use if you don't want to actually write CSS because it's horrible. For theming, a lot of times the CTF that you're making challenge for will have a theme that you can follow. Sometimes it won't, and then you're given free reign. A lot of times, if it does have a theme, then people won't yell at you if you don't follow the theme or if you forget to follow the theme. So you have a lot of free reign on that. I made my last one car themed, even though it was a Halloween CTF. Now on to hardening the website and making sure that it actually users complete it the way they're supposed to. So look for cheese. Basically, you want to build in protections for your site to make sure that the CTFers are actually using the exploit instead of just oh, I can just change the form value in the browser and then get the flag from that. I had an issue with that, but I looked for cheese and I fixed it. This is important for client-facing endpoints, like I said, forms, cookies, other stuff, URLs. Also, if you're providing source code, you want to make sure that you aren't leaking anything in your source code. Like, if you put the flag in your source code, put a fake flag in there. You don't want to just give users the flag in your source code by accident. Fun fact, you can also add comments around the vulnerability, so that way players know, this is an important bit of code that I should be looking at. What does depickling do? Look it up. For pretty much every CTF I've made, I've used Docker. I don't know if everyone uses Docker to make their CTFs, but that's what I've done. It helps simplify running the application because then you just do Docker run. That's not the commands, but and then it sets everything up for you instead of being you gotta use Flask and then app and then the port and then all of that. You can just set that all up in Docker to do it for you automatically. It can also help protect competition infrastructure, especially if you have RCD on your app. The CA might also tell you to use Docker, and then you don't have a choice. So, all right, other checks that you should look at. You don't have to filter, but it can increase the challenge difficulty. Filtering is also really useful for RCE challenges. If you have a server-side template injection challenge, but you don't want the user to pop a shell in the web app, then you could filter certain commands, which doesn't guarantee that they won't pop a shell, but it can make it harder. You could also sandbox your application if you're paranoid. You could use NSJL. I wouldn't. I don't like NSJL. I don't think anyone likes NSJL. Alright, and then finalizing the web app. This is the last technical bit of making the CTF. So you gotta rate the challenge, which is probably the most difficult part, not actually writing it, because the difficulty is extremely relative. So it depends on your target audience. Is it a beginner challenge? Is it a beginner CTF? Is it a more advanced CTF? You gotta look at all of that. And then you also got to look at like the relative difficulty of other challenges in the CTF or like in the category. I did not do this. I should have done this. You can ask your other non-competitors to go through your challenge and rate the difficulty. People say this all the time. It's really helpful. I've done this like twice. It can help you see how a competitor would approach your challenge, and like, if they're like, oh, it was kind of guessy, you'll be like, I don't think so. You're wrong. I'm kidding. You can take their feedback and try and work it into your challenge to make it better. It can also help you rate the challenge better. Be like, oh yeah, this challenge was like medium. Oh, okay. I'll make it medium then. Alright, then you gotta test the challenge. You should realistically be doing this throughout development as you're making the challenge. Because if your challenge doesn't work after you've like finished making it, then you're like, which bit is wrong? But if you do incremental testing, then you know, oh, this was the last thing I changed. This is probably the issue. So there are there may be multiple ways to solve your challenge. Like for a JWT challenge, there's like 3-ish different ways that you can solve it. A JWT is just like a token of information that's usually stored in your cookies. And it's signed with a signature. So there's 2 ways that you can attack that. You can either use a non-signature attack, which just doesn't sign it at all. Or you can use a confusion algorithm attack, which uses a different algorithm to sign it, but the verifier is like, oh yeah, that looks right. And then you could also just like try and break the hash and get the secret that way. And that's just for one exploit. So you want to look at all of these different ways to solve the challenge, because what I had intended for that JWT challenge that I was talking about was the algorithm confusion challenge. But I think I forgot to check for the non-confusion challenge, so I think you could also do the non-attack. So yeah. You could also test different tools to solve your challenge. Going back to the JWT challenge, JWT.io, the first result that comes up for JWT, does not work for this challenge. It can also help you answer questions about your challenge if players are having trouble with it. Like, hey, I used JWT.io and it didn't work. All right, write-ups, please, pretty please do a write-up. They can help competition, like people in charge, answer questions about your challenge if you're not there or if you're asleep or something like that. Also, sometimes write-ups are released after the competition ends, and then you have to do them. This is a little write-up template. I got this from Team Contagion. Thanks, Team Contagion. Oh, that was Markdown, by the way. If you're providing files for your challenge, you got to decide what files you want to give them. Giving them source code can make it easier sometimes. Also, do you have an admin bot? Are you going to provide source code for that? Do they have to log in as a specific user? If they do, you should give them that username. And then it's also helpful to tell them how the flag is located, so that way they're focusing more on how to perform this exploit rather than where the fuck is the flag, you know? Some CTFs will have hints. I think most CTFs have hints. Maybe. Sometimes hints will cost points. Other times they'll be free. It's really cool when they are free. You want to give a hint that will point the player in the right direction. You don't want to give the answer. So you can be like, oh, what is this cookie? Or, oh, how do you log in? That can help. It depends on the competition as to like how much free reign you're given for answering questions. Generally, I don't think they care, and you're given a lot of free reign. General guidelines. Don't play favorites. Don't help someone because they're your friends. If you're gonna give them certain information, you should share that with everyone. Don't give away the exploit because what's the point of them getting the CTF anyways? And then this last bit is just like a recommendation. Don't say DM me because if you say DM me in the channel, then everyone will DM you and you will never sleep again. Ask me how I know. Just generally guide them in the right direction. Sometimes what I'll do is like when I'm DMing a player, I'll like ask them what they're using, like what exploit they're using, what their code is, and I'll try and figure out what they're doing from there. If their approach is right, then I'll be like, okay, yeah, you're on the right track. But if it's like a tool that they're using that is like messing things up, like jwt.io, then I'll be like, yeah, that doesn't work for this challenge. Try using something else. If they're not on the right track, then I won't tell them what the exploit is, but like I might give them a link to portswicker.com and be like, you should look here. This has a lot of information. That might help you out. Also, if you give someone information in like DMs, and you're like, other competitors don't have this information, then I recommend like giving that information like in the channel. You know, if the CTF has a Discord. Sometimes you can take screenshots or you can just like repeat the information in a different message. Sometimes, oh yes, feedback. Everyone loves feedback about CTFs. Sometimes people just can't cope and they can't solve your challenge and they'll be mean about it. Don't take it to heart. That doesn't mean that your challenge is bad, necessarily. Maybe it is. I personally do like to read feedback about my challenges so I know what to do better next time. Like, don't rate a not easy challenge easy. If someone calls your challenge guessy, usually it's a skill issue. If they want to call your challenge guessy, then they should come up with better criticism, constructive criticism. Basically ignore everyone who says guessy. That's a cop-out. I forgot to take that slide out. Anyone have questions? Okay, slide. What's up, Devin?
What's CTF second goal?
What? Oh, I made a couple for ISTS. All of them have been web challenges. I made one for the R2 CTF, and I made one for the USIS CTF, and I think that was it. So like 4 or 5 or something like that. What's up, Chase?
Have you ever considered branching out from web challenges into possibly physical security systems?
I have actually considered branching out from web challenges into crypto challenges because I like elliptic curves, and I was going to make a challenge for that, and then I ran out of time. So I have not considered physical though.
Well, could you consider some commonly used tool for the challenges?
A commonly used exploit for physical challenges involved lockpicks, a lockpicking gun, and other stuff that I don't really know. A blowtorch.
Seven's thermite.
I don't think I can say that.
It is your fifth presentation, and you get this competition.